Corrections Deputies of the Month.
Corporal Eric Furman, Field Training Officer Brian Claudius, Field Training Officer Joseph Price, and Corrections Deputy Richard Weaver responded to an inmate who was unresponsive in the Charlie cell block. FTO Claudius immediately started CPR while Corporal Furman retrieved an AED. The AED was applied and advised to continue CPR. For approximately 14 minutes, Corporal Furman and FTO Claudius rotated with chest compressions, while FTO Price and Deputy Weaver performed rescue breathing. These correctional personnel worked as a team in this highly stressful situation, attempting to save the life of an inmate. For their efforts, they are also receiving a commendable service bar. Jail Complex Corporal Gary Nichols assisted an inmate who requested help after believing his girlfriend was having a medical emergency while speaking to her on the telephone. Corporal Nichols researched the business, located a phone number, and ultimately made contact with her employer, who found the female unresponsive and in need of urgent medical care. Corporal Nichols' quick response to the inmate's request led to this female receiving the assistance that ultimately saved her life. Corporal Nichols is also receiving a life-saving award. While working her assignment in the female facility, Corrections Deputy Sharhonda Haynes was alerted to suspicious activity in the dorm bathroom. Deputy Haynes quickly began to question the inmates involved. Realizing that one of the inmates had recently been received into the facility, she escorted her to the booking room for a pat-down search. The search revealed that the inmate was attempting to smuggle drugs and paraphernalia into the facility. Her quick actions diverted dangerous drugs from entering the jail complex, and for her efforts she is also receiving a commendable service bar. Corrections Deputy Ardley McCree received an inmate for housing in 300 Pod. While performing a thorough search of the inmate's property, Deputy McCree located a single razor blade concealed inside the pages of a Bible. Correction Deputy McCree's attention to detail not only prevented a dangerous weapon from entering a maximum security area, but also prevented potential serious injury to staff or other inmates. Corrections Deputy McCree is also receiving a commendable service bar. Corporal Sherman Davis and Lisa Venard Medeiros both serve as supervisors of the Sheriff's Office Chain Gang Inmate Program. They and their crew are highly visible to the community and represent the agency in a very professional manner in every detail they undertake. The Chain Gang has been responsible for beach cleanups, community assistance during hurricane preparation, as well as setup and teardown of many of the charitable functions the Sheriff's Office hosts. Corporals Davis and Venard Medeiros are highly motivated members of the agency whose efforts are reflected in the superior performance of the inmates they supervise. For their dedication to the agency, they are also being recognized with a commendable service bar. Corrections Deputies Tyler Smith and Domingo Guzman were assigned as rovers for the 500 Pod in the jail complex when they responded to an inmate who was choking. Both Corrections Deputies worked together by administering finger sweeps and back blows, which were successful in dislodging the obstruction. The inmate was taken to the jail complex medical unit and then transported to the hospital where he made a full recovery. The quick response and emergency aid taken by these two correctional deputies were instrumental in saving the life of this inmate. For their efforts, they are both receiving a life-saving award. The Inmate Garment Printing Program was introduced at the jail complex with Corrections Deputy White leading the way. This innovative program instructs inmates on graphic design and digital garment printing while providing actual hands-on training. The inmates under his supervision have gained valuable experience to apply upon their release and have successfully completed the printing of over 2,000 items. For his dedication and commitment, Corrections Deputy White is also receiving a commendable service bar. Corrections Deputy Edwards was fingerprinting a female inmate when he learned the inmate's 9 and 10 years old brother and sister were left alone at a large resort in Cape Canaveral. Fearing the children may be in danger, Corporal Reeves contacted Canaveral precinct deputies who responded to the resort but were unsuccessful in locating the children since the inmate refused to provide a room number even after further questioning by Sergeant Smith. Corrections Deputy Donnelly Jenkins was contacted by Sergeant Smith and tasked with meeting with the inmate, who eventually provided the room number where the children could be located. With this information, the deputies were able to locate the children who were scared and crying, with no adult supervision, no food, and in a room without a working air conditioner. The children advised after waking up they found they were alone with no idea of where their sister was or if she was coming back. The inmate was additionally charged with child neglect, and Sergeant Smith, Corporal Reeves, Corrections Deputies Edwards and Jenkins demonstrated diligence and determination in working together to potentially save the lives of these two children. They are also being recognized with a Bar of Merit. Corrections Corporal Anthony Ryder and Corrections Deputy Michael Kirkpatrick were alerted to an inmate who could not be woken up. Upon arriving at the cell, they observed the inmate laying on his bunk, unresponsive and barely breathing. Medical personnel were notified and responded with an AED. Corrections Corporal Ryder and Corrections Deputy Kirkpatrick assisted the nurse with chest compressions and rescue breathing for nearly 12 minutes until paramedics arrived. The inmate was transported to a local hospital and, due to their medical intervention, made a full recovery. Corrections Corporal Ryder and Corrections Deputy Kirkpatrick displayed excellent teamwork in providing medical care that assisted in saving the life of this male inmate. They are also being recognized with a life-saving award. Corrections Deputy Donna Edmonds was notified a female inmate appeared to be having a medical event and found her incoherent, unable to respond. The inmate was placed on her side on the ground and medical personnel were called to assist. Corporal Amanda Sostry responded, along with medical staff, and when the inmate began to lose consciousness, CPR was started by both officers. They continued CPR until the arrival of paramedics who administered a dose of Narcan, at which time the inmate became alert and coherent. Corporal Sostry and Deputy Edmonds worked together to provide the best life-saving care possible for the inmate, and for their efforts, they are also receiving a commendable service bar. Corrections Deputy Mendes Spencer was doing an inmate check when he noticed that what appeared to be an item wrapped around the inmate's neck in one of the cells. Deputy Spencer and Corporal Michael Peterson immediately entered the cell and found the inmate unresponsive with fabric tied around his neck and the sink. The inmate was untied, and both Spencer and Peterson began performing life-saving measures until the arrival of medical personnel. The response of Deputy Spencer and Corporal Peterson prevented this inmate from ending his life, and they are both receiving a life-saving award for their quick actions. Corporal Ryan Futch and Corrections Deputy Chris Malagon were alerted to a problem in a recreation yard and observed an inmate on the ground, unresponsive and suffering from what appeared to be a seizure. Corporal Futch assessed the male and found no pulse. Deputy Malagon retrieved an AED, which was placed on the inmate and advised that a shock was needed. After the shock, CPR was started with Sergeant Otranto, Corporal Futch, and Corrections Deputy Brown rotating between compressions and rescue breaths. Medical personnel responded and assisted until the arrival of fire rescue, who transported the inmate to the hospital where he made a full recovery. The above staff did an excellent job working together as a team to save the life of this inmate. In recognition of their outstanding efforts, they are all receiving each a life-saving award.